Hello, this is the Economic Choices Section A lecture. Our prioritized standards, Economic Standard 1. Objectively, we're going to compare and contrast opportunity cost and trade-offs. So scarcity is the economic condition that results because of the relative imbalance between people's unlimited wants and their limited resources. Or in other words, we want a lot. There are lots of things that we want, although our ability to get those things are actually, in comparison, very limited, meaning we are never going to be able to have all the things that we actually want. At some level, even if you had all the money in the world, you still couldn't get every single thing you want because there are still limits on that. For instance, there's only 24 hours in a day. So even if you had all the money for anything you wanted in the world, the fact that there's only 24 hours in a day is going to limit your ability to get all those things that you might in fact want. Speaking of wants, economic wants are actually desires that can be satisfied by consuming a good or a service. Goods are physically tangible things that can satisfy people's wants. Intangible things that can satisfy people's wants. So maybe you spent your money for someone to make you something to eat. Well, that's not tangible. That's not really something that you can take out of your pocket and be like, hey, this is what I spent my money on today. Someone made me something to eat. So I want to point out there is kind of a spectrum between goods and services. Some things do fall in the middle of that spectrum. Because of the situation of scarcity, people must make choices about how to use their resources to satisfy their wants. In making choices, there's commonly a conflict of wants versus needs. And most rational people actually put their needs ahead of their wants, meaning you might want an Apple computer, but most people need food, so they're going to spend their money on food. That's how most rational people work. So most rational people, when they come across something that might be considered a risk to them, they're going to behave in a way that you can't expect. Although you probably know in your actual life that on a daily basis, people don't always predict, are not always acting rationally, and some people are irrational. But whenever we talk about people in economics, we're not ever talking about all people. We're talking about people that are rational people. Now, there's a difference between scarcity and shortage. So, for instance, scarcity always exists. So I should probably point something out. We have a set amount of oil in the earth. At some point, we will run out of oil. There's nothing you can do to change that. It's not like you can start protesting and be like, we want oil forever. We want more oil. It's like, what was your Me Too oil moment? And then magically there's just more oil on the earth. Now, as where scarcity is something that you can't change, shortages are actually only temporary. So it's possible you might go to the gas station at some point in your life and, oh no, they're out of gas. Now, that doesn't mean there's never going to be gas ever again. It means something probably happened to cause that shortage to take place. So maybe there was a hurricane somewhere. Maybe there was a lot of holiday driving and people just got lots of gas and were just out of gas. But at some point, that gas will be back at that gas station because the thing that caused that to take place will eventually be fixed and taken care of. As where scarcity, again, there's nothing you can do to undo the impending doom that is oil will be gone at some point. Now, individuals, governments, and societies all actually experience scarcity because there are never enough resources to satisfy all of their wants. Now, people also respond predictably to economic incentives, which is the desire to achieve financial or material gain and to avoid financial or material loss. Meaning, people like good things to happen to them, and they like to avoid bad things from happening to them. That's what's meant by economic incentives. These economic incentives are powerful motivating forces for most people, and market economies for that matter, with the pursuit of economic self-interest as a basic motivation that leads people and businesses to provide goods and services that other people want. Now, people generally seek to allocate their scarce resources to obtain the highest possible return. Since you don't have infinite resources, you want to make sure the resources you do have will last the longest. Also, should point out this hope of earning a profit motivates firms to incur the risk and cost involved in starting a business. So the fact that people want to make money is going to cause them to take risk sometimes because they are anticipating that, hey, if this risk works out, I'm going to make lots of money. So again, it's all about self-interest. Because of economic incentives, transactions involve voluntary exchange, where consumers and producers only engage in trade when both parties expect to benefit. Incentives often influence individuals differently, and not all human behavior is actually motivated by economic incentives. So, for instance, some people might quit jobs to raise children. Some might be unwilling to move, even for a better paying job. Some people of average to above average intelligence might willingly choose to be a teacher. It's like economic incentives doesn't explain it all. Now, few choices are actually going to be all or nothing decisions, but most are actually going to involve trade-offs. And by trade-offs, this involves getting less of one thing in exchange for getting more of another. Now, people commonly make more decisions about small changes than big changes. So this might be considered more of a big change. Do I want to spend time with my family, or do I want to move on with my career? Some things are going to be more basic. So it might be more like, I'm going to play football. So based on playing football, I'm going to have less time of the day to watch Stranger Things on Netflix. Now, choices people make also have both present and future consequences. In economics, when deciding if you should continue to do something, you should actually consider the benefits and cost of your decision. So in economics, they basically say if the marginal benefits, and marginal benefits means additional benefits, so if the marginal benefits of an action are greater than the marginal cost of an action, continue to do that action. So if you do something and things are working out for you, generally speaking, you keep doing that thing. Now, if the marginal cost or the additional cost, so if the marginal cost of an action are greater than the marginal benefits, do not continue to do it. Tied directly to the concept of trade-offs are opportunity cost, which is the value of the next best alternative that was given up because another option was chosen. So possibly today you decided to turn right. And based on having turned right today, that means you couldn't have also turned left. So whenever you make a decision, whatever the next best decision you could have made that you didn't make, that's actually considered your opportunity cost. So whenever someone makes a personal decision to use limited resources, and that also includes time, an opportunity cost is actually incurred. Now, something like opportunity cost is actually revealed by weighing the costs and benefits that are associated with alternatives. So, for instance, when we talk about opportunity cost has to do with the value of something, not actually its monetary value. So if I ask you, hey, you went to the movies today, what's your opportunity cost for having gone to the movies today? What the answer would not be is, $10. Because I spent $10. If I didn't go to the movies, now I'd have $10. The better way to think about opportunity cost is, okay, you had $10, you spent the $10 to go to the movies. Based on if you had not spent that $10, what would you have done had you not gone to the movies? What is the top priority that you could not do because you used your $10 to actually go to the movies? So opportunity cost, again, is not dollar amount. It is an opportunity that was cost to you by a decision that you actually made. Now, all choices and opportunity cost are actually going to be subjective and vary across individuals and societies. So just because one person's opportunity cost of going to the movies might have been going bowling, that doesn't translate to every person in the world's opportunity cost is also going bowling because they decided to go to the movies. Cost is also a trade-off. Not all trade-offs are an opportunity cost. All right. Opportunity cost between two specific goods or services produced by the same producer can be more easily determined using an economic model called the production possibilities frontier. So a production possibilities frontier actually shows the maximum combinations of goods and services that can be produced from a fixed amount of resources in a given period of time. So in this particular factory, we're showing the production possibilities of a factory that could be making Blu-ray disc or could be making digital video disc or DVDs. So they could be making up to 5,000 Blu-ray discs, They could be making up to 10,000 DVDs, or they could be making different combinations of that amount. So basically this solid line here, this represents what could be done, the possibilities of this factory, what could be done. Now, combinations that are on the curve, so for instance, point B here is something that's on the curve. This represents efficient use of the existing resources. Now, combinations that are inside or below the curve, so like this green point here would be below the curve, represent inefficient use of the existing resources. Now, I should point out, is it possible to produce 2,000 Blu-ray discs? Yes. Is it possible to produce 2,500 DVDs? Yes. But is it also possible that you could produce 2,000 Blu-ray discs and many more DVDs? Yes, it is. Is it possible you could produce 2,500 DVDs and many more Blu-ray discs? Yes, it is. Is it possible you could produce more of both of them? Yes, it is. A lot of times in businesses, factories, they are going to be producing at a point that is below the capabilities of the factory. That happens all the time. So whenever it's below this curve, inside this curve, it is possible, but it's just not practical to do that. Now, combinations that are outside or above the curve, so let's say this spot here might be where we want to produce. Combinations that are outside or above this curve are actually not possible given the existing technology. Now, could one produce roughly 4,000 Blu-ray discs? Yes, they could. Could one produce roughly 7,500 DVDs? Yes, they could. But could they produce both of those amounts at the same time? No, they could not. Because that is beyond the capabilities of this factory. Again, this line is the maximum amount. This is giving 100%. This is like the coach telling you to give 110%. You can't actually give 110% because that's beyond the capabilities of this factory. The only way you could produce at this point is if you got new technology, possibly, that has actually expanded the possibilities of this factory. But then that's not actually going beyond 100%. You're just expanding what is possible. All right, so this is a production possibilities frontier that will be used to look at the production possibilities of a factory that produces both Blu-ray disc and DVDs. So at point A, I'll make that blue. This is a combination of 2,000 Blu-ray discs and 7,500 DVDs. So again, like here's point A, follow the dotted line. It says 2,000. 2,000 of what? Oh, it's a label, Blu-ray disc. And also point A, follow the dotted line down, 7,500 of what? Oh, look, it's labeled DVDs. So that tells you how much they're producing there. Point B has a combination of, again, point B is going to be here, 4,000 Blu-ray disc and 2,500 DVDs. So again, you follow the dotted line, find the number of what? Oh, there it is. Follow the dotted line down. Oh, 2,000 of what? Oh, it's labeled. Awesome. So that's how you actually look at that. Now, the opportunity cost of producing 2,000 more Blu-ray disc is 5,000 DVDs. So you might be thinking, what? Okay, so let me explain. So we were at point A, and we decided we want to make 2,000 more Blu-ray discs. So that means we're going to point B now, so that we can make more of those Blu-ray discs. But for us to make that decision, we have actually sacrificed the ability to produce 7,500 DVDs, and now we only have the capabilities of producing 2,500 DVDs. So essentially, this area here represents the opportunity cost. This is how many DVDs we can now not make because we decided that we wanted to make more Blu-ray disc. So again, 7,500 minus 2,500. That's how I came up with that magic number, 5,000 DVDs. All right, one last thing to point out here. If production of either Blu-ray disc or DVDs is produced at its maximum, then none of the other product will be produced. So, like let's say they determine at this factory, we want to max out our Blu-ray disc. We're only going to produce Blu-ray disc, so that means 5,000 Blu-ray disc are produced, which means we could actually make 0 DVDs if you made that decision. If they made the decision instead that, hey, we want to make 10,000 DVDs, you could do that, but the trade-off is, well, you can't make any Blu-ray disc, though. So, I mean, if you make this amount, it means you can't make any of the other. If you make this amount, you can't make any of the other. That's basically just what I wanted to point out there. All right, this concludes Economic Choices, Section A. Again, our prioritized standard is Economic Standard 1, and objectively now you can compare and contrast opportunity cost and trade-offs.